back to Cowabunga Corner. In this episode, we are talking about the City at War Ninja Turtle comics. Now, a lot of people who do not follow the comic books are going, wait a second, that was a story arc in the 4Kids series. Yes, it was, but that was taken from this series right here. This is the original ending of Volume 1 of the Mirage Ninja Turtle comics. It took place in issues 50 through number 62, where the Ninja Turtles have come to a huge time in their lives. They have realized that they are all drifting in their different directions. And so they now have to come to terms on what they're going to do. Well, one of the decisions is to leave the farm and to head back to New York City, which is made in the first issue of the comics. They go back and find that the city is at a complete chaos because when the Shredder was killed, his elite guards were left behind and they're causing trouble. And now the Foot from Japan is trying to fix the trouble. So in comes Karai. Yes, not Shredder's daughter. Someone from Japan sent in to represent the Foot Clan to try and get control. Well, she goes to the Turtles and says, we need you guys to work for us. And if you guys work for us, we will leave you guys alone. The Turtles have to decide from this point. Do they work with the Foot Clan, take out the elite guards, and just be done with the Foot? Or do they not work with the Foot since the Foot is their enemies in the first place? And this is when the big fight breaks out, where it's brought up. Why are we even involved in this? We had nothing to do with the original fights. We were brought in to avenge Splinter's fight. This was Splinter's fight from the get-go. And we are the ones now running for our lives, having to fight all the time. This is not the life we want. So the Turtles talk it out and decide to work on getting rid of the elite guards. Now, don't think this is just a turtle story here. This story also covers what's going on with April O'Neil, Casey Jones, and Splinter. And even the Rat King makes his appearance in City at War. It is completely insane with one thing after another. One big story arc after another. Casey Jones goes off. He falls in love with somebody else. She's pregnant already. She turns around, has the baby, but she dies. So now Casey's returning with a baby in hand. The insanity of this series right here was just one of those things where you're standing there going, what are they going to throw at you next? And that was City at War. It was a complete war in every area that was just a war within themselves, a war around them. It was something that had them on their toes and had us going for every comic. They made a big deal about City at War when it was coming out. In fact, they held TurtleCon 1992 as kind of their big advertisement for City at War. This shirt is an image from City at War. It is the TurtleCon 92 official shirt. The shirt, they also had a City at War shirt that had one of the elite guards on the back of it. And they had a bunch of other stuff. It was where they released issue 50. So everything was coming around this comic. Now, even though it's issue 50 through 62, we cannot forget that issues 48 and 49 directly tie into City at War as well, as it is the beginning of Casey Jones' story and why he ends up leaving the group. Just the problems that he is personally going through. I love City at War. I love the Mirage comics. But City at War is just one of those arcs where you're sitting down going, this is really, really good. Eastman and Laird got together to write this. It was an attempt to fix things that was going on there. And it was the insanity of trying to wrap up a lot and get a good storyline in, because for so long they had all these guest artists coming in and writing and drawing the Turtles. Well, Eastman and Laird were stuck off doing all the business stuff, working on the movies, the cartoons, the toys, going through and agreeing on all these licensing and fighting battles as people are trying to sue them for stuff that just was insane. So while they were going through all that, some other people were handling the comics. So they decided to get together for City at War. Now, that does not mean they did all the artwork. Issue 50 the artwork is Eastman and Laird. But otherwise, we have several artists throughout the comics. The cover work is A.C. Farley. He did fantastic. I love A.C. Farley's work. The insides, we have Jim Lawson. We have Eric Talbot. We have the Mirage team working together, bringing us this fantastic storyline where we could sit down and just indulge ourselves in Ninja Turtles. And sadly, it has not been released in graphic novel form. A lot of people have been requesting it because these are very hard to find issues. As much as people love them, they were off the shelves as soon as they got on the shelves. I'm lucky enough to have a complete set of City at War, but I know a lot of people who do not. And I highly recommend, if you find any comics where it says on the front cover, City at War, pick that comic up. Check it out. Now, yes, it's easier to read when they're all together because this is basically one graphic novel in 12 comics. The hardest part about this was, it was the end. It was the end of Volume 1. And if you ask me on a personal opinion with the Mirage comic storylines, this was the best volume. Mirage Volume 1, even with the guest artist, it was still something that I can highly respect. Because we have the original comic. We have the Return to New York story arc. We have The River. And we have City at War. All these wonderful comics are all in Volume 1. Volume 2, you can't say that. There's not a story arc where you're sitting there going, this is fantastic. Because it's kind of hard. It jumps into its own other type of story. It tries going a different way. The Image comics, they're not even counted in the history now of the Mirage comics, even though they picked up when the Turtles turned 18. And then you, of course, have the issues where Peter took over for Volume 4. But the problem with Volume 4, which is kind of confusing, they call it Volume 4 even though they don't count the Image comics, and that's a whole other story. But the Volume 4 comics, we don't even get the ending to it. Peter got so busy that he stopped putting them out. And now with the sale, yes, he has the rights to do 18 comics a year, but even he says that he don't know if he'll actually get through to finishing that story. Which means we're sitting here with this open story arc that we don't think we'll see the end of. At least we can say Volume 1 had a beginning, had a middle, and had an end. And their beginning, not really the middle. The middle was more the guest artists coming in. But a middle to the main story arc would be Return to New York. And then the end is City at War. They took the Foot storyline and put it in 3 chapters of the Ninja Turtle history. And these storylines, these in-depth, seeing the characters, following them on their adventures, that's what I enjoyed about Mirage. I loved how they handled it. As much as I love all the guest artist stuff, I still think that Eastman and Laird's writing is what made the first volume the best volume of Mirage comics. The Ninja Turtles may see a little bit of Eastman in one area and Laird in another area, but they were born by Eastman and Laird as a team, and what the gold we get is when they're working as a team. The first movie was Eastman and Laird working with the writers. The comics, Eastman and Laird. Even though we love the work that they put out in other areas, I miss them working as a team. But I can respect that they each have their own lives and is going their own ways, and at least we still have them here and they're involved in the Ninja Turtles. But if you want to see their real work, pick up the original volume of the Turtles and pick up City at War. Hopefully, IDW Comics will be releasing stuff like this inside collector volumes. That is what they're talking about doing for the early Mirage stuff. We're hoping that they go on and actually give us a collector volume of City at War. IDW is picking it up is going to be respectful towards the Mirage area and even brought Kevin Eastman on as a writer. So we look forward to everything that they do, everything that they bring us, and we encourage everyone to keep up with IDW. Now, if you have questions about the City at War comic, or if you have a review that you would like to share, I'll do reviews more on the individual issues and what happens throughout this time. But I wanted to do City at War as a group effort here, because this right here deserves its own story arc in Cowabunga Corner. But if you have questions or reviews, please give us a video reply or comment below. We'll be happy to go along with anyone who's taking part in Cowabunga Corner. And we hope to hear back from you guys. We'll see you next week here on Cowabunga Corner.